I've been playing the new Expanse RPG for the last couple of weeks to answer a simple question for you. Is this a sci-fi RPG you're looking for? Because there are three people that this game is going to appeal to that I think will come away with different answers. There's the Expanse fans looking for a different angle on a familiar story that you can actually live in and drive forward with key choices. There's the Mass Effect fan looking for a space-based RPG that lets you build relationships with a team, make key choices, do some romance, and get dragged into an interesting story. And then there are the space fans, those who know this channel well, looking for an immersive experience that deals with the dangers and complications of life in space. Low gravity, limited sustenance, massive distances. In this video, I'm going to show you what a playable Expanse looks like. The spaceborne complications, the combat sequences, and most importantly, how the bad decisions I made got everybody on a space station killed, and how you can stop that from happening. Thank you for coming to my Tomato Talk. The Expanse is arguably the most relevant 21st century sci-fi IP there is. Similar to Star Wars in the 20th, it has spawned tabletop games, narrative video games, a TV series, several books, an ardent fanbase, and a story that's relevant to any human alive. Curiosity, mystery, oppression, rebellion, and the importance of human connection. My big question was how well Osiris Reborn translates that into the player's hands. In a world where gravity, food, and the distance to others decides what team you're on, does Osiris Reborn let you live in that? For that reason, in this rather limited hour or so of gameplay we get in Osiris Reborn, I'll be looking at two key things: the complications of space and the gravity of the choices and dialogue we can make. But we'll talk about combat in section 2. Let's start with the choices though. This entire demo hinges on your key decision in how you want to flee the very angry Proto-Gen Osiris squad in pursuit. You could escape on your own, or you can have your fellow Pinkwater security mates take up arms to fight them off, leading to you coming across various dead folks throughout the level, as well as the station ultimately blowing up and killing everyone.
Don't lose hope. Everyone will know what happened.
But how did we get there? You start out here checking back into your security station, Pinkwater 4, and meeting your second party member after your twin.
Every little joy is a candle. The more you light, the more life's darkness wanes.
This is Zafar, who you get to learn more about through first and third party encounters throughout this mission. This is the main guy who gets to see most of the emotional development throughout this demo. I do appreciate that Osiris Reborn seems inclined to let you discover things throughout your conversation. For instance, later in the demo, as I barely escape Osiris, I'm able to ask Zafar if he acted to help me because he was ordered to. He answered, letting me know no matter what he had done, he would have stayed consistent. And if you do go back and play the other way, he does stay consistent, helping to build out that character. It does point to Owlcat's attempt at giving characters more tangible reactions for you to key in on, and reliable character traits that aren't necessarily written out on the screen for you. And you'll get small dialogue choices like this throughout the game, it seems. They maybe don't change the outcome of the game or the dialogue you're getting, but they do give you some different information that you can tuck away for later decisions.
Zafar Hijazi bought flashlights for the whole crew, and they're better than the company ones. Absolutely nothing for himself. What a man.
While this makes for more flavor, I think it feels less substantial when you're starting to notice your dialogue choices aren't having too much of an impact on the immediate future.
I called him a pain in the ass. I want to say sorry.
After this conversation with Zafar, I was thrust into the main social hub of this space station. We don't quite know how widespread this game is going to be, but I imagine there will be a lot of stop-offs like this, each with their own social hub, and then various small quests that branch off from there. We've already seen a couple familiar places like Ganymede and Eros, so I'm sure we'll get a lot of different environments to explore here. In this area, you can see plenty of NPCs walking around, some loot's out there to find, there are data pads that'll teach you more about the world and what's going on around it, and news reports cluing you in on the main story unfolding in the system, the one that's centered around our boy James Holden, but right now is kind of in the backdrop.
Officer of the Canterbury, James Holden, has published a video in which he declares declares that the ice hauler was destroyed by the MCRN.
And this is where the game so far shines. It doesn't really matter what kind of game you're into. If you like The Expanse, you're gonna get a kick out of this. There's lore in these datapads that further explain the well-known tech you don't really get to hear more about in the TV show or even in the books. There are tiebacks to these well-known moments in the TV show and books, and the outfits really do fit in with what I expect from The Expanse. This area went a long way to draw me into the world and show me a side of life you don't see as much in the show. And there's a lot of interaction in the area, but it all felt very focused on me and my twin, like a theme park of conversations that I could walk around to visit each one, rather than a living world I was observing as I moved through it. But I do think that the small details like this are less of a downside and more of just a barometer of what to expect given the scale of this project. The highlight of this area was a shopkeeper though, who was quite the delight. Her conversation consisted of topics you don't really get to hear about from other mediums of The Expanse, and added context to some of the characters you meet throughout this demo. Like I said before, things you can tuck away for yourself to make personal decisions more clearly. This was the only character in the entire social hub that I ended up caring about. And that matters because, like I said, everyone died, but it wasn't capitalized on. I did not see this character shot or highlighted in any way after things went south, and thus I wanted to know if the positive outcome would make any difference otherwise. But you're probably wondering how the combat is in this game. It's the company's first third-person shooter, and Mass Effect fans know just how big a difference the combat system can make between games in a series. That brings us back to the big decision. Osiris Squad has shown up out of nowhere to this space station, shut down the station's comms, and ordered everyone to clear the way as they come and easily apprehend you and take their ship back. It's a bit of a Rocinante situation, in that you did grab their random ship to escape a bad situation on Eros, and the faction wants it back. You can either convince your boss and your peers to take up arms and cover your escape, or you can have everybody back down and not defend against your capture. Yeah, you got a lot of pull here. This decision is very clear-cut. The game offers you a clear off-ramp from this choice, as well as a visual indicator. It's not subtle, and hopefully it can be hidden, but the choice does matter, because it changes the rest of your mission. So instead of getting the whole station blown up and everybody killed, let's try the other way. Straight away, asking your boss and company to stand down as you escape leads to different cutscenes, but I'll be honest, it's not that different. The only real big difference are the dead bodies you find throughout the level if you decide to have them fight for you, and the small decrease in assistance in combat you find if you don't have them fight for you. That being said, you get plenty of combat either way. Throughout this portion of the demo, I ran through various rooms of enemies that could be pretty easily dispatched, and as I'm sure you can tell here, the combat itself felt fairly boxy, for lack of a better word. It has some fun components for sure, definitely the kind of stuff Mass Effect fans will feel at home with. Special abilities on your shoulder buttons that need a recharge once used. They kind of depend on the class that you've chosen and what you've specialized in. A cover-based system with plenty of short walls scattered throughout every level, and a cover-based movement system that feels a little clunky at times, but I'm hoping can get tightened in the next year. And there's even a tactical pause screen that lets you select the abilities and weapons that you and your party members are using. It is very familiar. But the general feel of the enemy's movement and the reactions to getting shot weren't really that great. It felt a little cramped at times, and the enemies didn't feel very smart in the way they moved around. That said, both mine and my party mates' abilities were pretty fun to use and adequately destructive to our enemies and our environments. The abilities, weapons, and your proficiency with them can all be selected through a full skill tree system that meets the needs of a third-person adventure game, but didn't really get me all that excited to progress down any one path. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited to build out my perfect drone-wielding Beltalowda, but I don't see much from the choices that excites me for a unique build like I would from something like Outer Worlds or Starfield. Things are staying grounded and straightforward from what we can see so far. There are some hidden options down there we might unlock later that could offer some exciting surprises, but for now, percentages are generally what we see. And while you can customize the experience, actual feel of the combat left a lot to be desired. Enemies barely looked like they felt the gunshots I was taking, which combined with the muffled vacuum of space makes them feel even weaker while I'm using them. On that note, the space sequences here were the best part of the combat. Plenty of particles, nice zero-G effects, muffled audio, and some disorienting level design making for a unique feel and something that's different from the interiors. But these segments also point out a key aspect of the game. Player agency is not as high as you might hope.
A damn ring rotation!
While there are some interesting, cinematic, and engaging sequences that show off space and the dangers of it, you end up losing a lot of control over how these situations play out. Take the EVA section, for instance. You don't really get to choose when you go EVA as you move through a space station, which would have been an incredibly unique opportunity for alternate paths to complete levels in a game like The Expanse. But instead here, you just get put on rails and sent down a linear path, only having control over your left and right movement. It's a bit disappointing, as the risk of EVA and zero-G maneuvers and whether you can calculate your trajectory is a key aspect of The Expanse and space travel in general. And it's something I wish players would be able to feel the consequences of and play around with through their own choices. In the same vein, I found that I didn't really have any worries around oxygen or heat. Not something that you'd expect on your own space station, but I was hoping we'd at least see an oxygen limit to make us second-guess shortcuts or little different paths around the level or side quests on the outsides of these locations. These things are not a deal breaker for a game like this by any means. This is not a major, big-budget game. They gotta pick and choose the choices of where they can build into this game, and Owlcat is known for their writing and their story. So I want to be clear here, while I'm disappointed that we don't see as much of that choice and consequence from space here, I don't think it takes away from the strengths of what this game is aiming to be. That being said, this does weigh pretty heavily on an IP that is so focused on making you feel the desperation of space.
Trust me, we're all gonna be just fine.
But let's move on. The game also offers a crafting system tied to benches found throughout the game, which allows for item crafting and modification using things you find as you explore. You're not going to find as many things looting around like you would in something like Starfield, but there's a pretty simplified system of different resources and components that will go into items eventually. I didn't get to try this much in the demo. You also get a full skill tree with, like I said, not the most exciting or inspiring skills, but character progression nonetheless for you and your teammates. And there are plenty of opportunities throughout your play to come across perception checks, persuasion opportunities, and general skill checks as you move throughout the world that'll give you a different experience than somebody else who's specialized in something else. The game also gives you these social areas that I talked about that can be navigated, including your own ship, where you can catch up on other characters, develop relationships, and more. The relationships you have will affect your party, who sticks with you, and what folks do for you throughout the game.
I'm not about to let my friends die because of some order. Enough people died because I did nothing.
And they do have plans for a diverse party, just like you might find in a Mass Effect-like game. They've got their own personalities, stories, backgrounds, factions, and mission section in your contract manager. So you'll be getting very involved with discussions, gameplay, and romances among them. It aims to provide many of the things that you would expect from a third-person sci-fi adventure game. And the crumbs are here for this demo, but not the center point. And similar to that legendary series that I keep referencing, I find the combat system here is fun and engaging, but it's certainly not the highlight. It feels more like a part of the overall game, and the fact that so much of this demo focused on combat I think could hurt what seems to succeed at the story. Because that's what this is, a character and story-driven game. I think the combat is there to bridge the sequences and give us more entertainment, but I can already tell from this demo it is about the characters. But one place that I did also think this game would go further than others was a reputation system, like Star Wars Outlaws. There is none though, which means your relationships with Pinkwater, Protogen, the MCRN, the OPA, or any other faction in the game and their representatives will likely not respond to your choices in the game as broadly or systemically. In an IP that is so focused on politics, alliances, and trust, what space station you can land at, and what ships you don't want to end up on the radar of, I had hoped this would be at least a small part of the game. But like I said, you gotta pick your battles. After moving through several different combat encounters and a couple decisions that seemingly lead to the same outcome, but likely affect relationships in ways that you simply can't see yet, you are carried in a cutscene away to your ship, with one last peek at your old boss back on the station. And in one instance, your pursuers get pretty angry, and they blow up the station, killing everybody. But in another, they just leave.
We'll find them, wherever they may hide.
There's no sign of how this affects the game yet, but just like the conversations, decisions, and discovering you take the time to do, the roots are laid for this game to reward those invested in the Expanse and in a character, story, and dialogue-driven RPG adventure.
We're so sorry.
This was just a first impressions of Osiris Reborn. I think there's a lot more to learn here, especially about how much effect these choices make that are unseen and simply not known because of how short this demo is compared to the whole game. I'll be covering this further over on Space Tomato 2 if you want some more coverage and a deeper dive, but I'm also going to be covering this game through its release right here, because I'm intrigued. I need to see more of this game, especially more of the EVA areas and space-specific platforming segments. When we took the alternate path to ending the demo, saving everybody aboard the space station, it did feel like my decision mattered, but without context or any way to feel the consequences of my actions later, outside of the numbers in combat or that cutscene, I am still waiting to be convinced. This feels like a game for people who love the Expanse and are looking for a sci-fi RPG, but I can't yet say this is a game for people looking for a good combat sci-fi experience or an immersive experience in space, though I do look forward to learning more with you over the next year. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something new in it, and I'll catch you in the next.